She said it on a Tuesday, right after I'd poured her coffee. Same mug she'd used for 8 years. Same kitchen. Same woman, except she wasn't. I didn't argue. I didn't ask why. I just set the coffee pot down and said, okay. That one word scared her more than any fight ever could. Rachel and I had been married for 9 years. I'm a general contractor. I build kitchens, decks, additions. Steady work, good money, nothing flashy. She worked as an office manager at a small marketing firm downtown. We had a house in Ridgewood, New Jersey, a 3-bedroom colonial with a yard I'd fenced myself the summer we moved in. We weren't the kind of couple that fought. That was the problem. Somewhere around year 6, Rachel started staying late at work, Tuesdays and Thursdays. She'd come home around 9, sometimes 9:30, smelling like restaurant food. She said her team was going through a rebrand. Lots of after-hours meetings. I believed her because I had no reason not to. I was pulling 12-hour days myself, running a crew, managing 3 projects at once. When you're tired, you don't look for trouble. You just want someone next to you on the couch. And she was, most nights. But the Tuesday she asked for the divorce, I noticed something I hadn't before. Her gym bag was in the hallway. She hadn't been to the gym in 2 months. I knew that because her membership charge hadn't shown up on our joint card since January. I didn't sign anything that day. I told her I needed a week to think, and she shrugged like I'd asked for an extra day to return a library book. That shrug told me everything. I spent that evening going through bank statements. Something about her confidence didn't sit right. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't guilty. She was ready, like she'd rehearsed this. I found it in the second hour. A recurring charge, a monthly payment to a storage unit on Route 17. $85 a month, going back 5 months. Rachel didn't own anything worth storing. We had a garage, an attic, and a basement. I wrote that down. Then I opened our shared laptop, the one in the kitchen for recipes and bills. Her email was logged out, but I knew her password. I'd set it up years ago, same one for the Wi-Fi, the streaming, the utilities. She'd never changed it. I typed storage into the search bar. Nothing. She'd deleted those. Lease, nothing. Then I tried the street name from the bank statement. One result. A forwarding confirmation from a property management company. Mail redirected from a Hoboken address to the storage unit. I clicked through and found the original buried 2 screens down. A lease confirmation. 2-bedroom apartment in Hoboken. Move-in date, 3 weeks out. Second name on the lease. A man I'd never heard of. Dominic Reyes. I screenshot everything and sent it to my phone. I read that lease confirmation 3 times. The apartment was under both their names, Rachel Medina and Dominic Reyes. She'd used her maiden name, not her married name, not mine, like I'd already been erased. I scrolled through more emails. Found a receipt for 2 suitcases from a luggage store bought 3 months ago. A shipping confirmation for kitchen supplies sent to the storage unit address. She'd been building a second life, piece by piece, for months, paying for it with money from our joint account. I screenshot every email and sent them to my phone. Then I closed the laptop and left it exactly where it was. The next morning, I searched the name. Dominic Reyes. Got a dozen results. I narrowed it down by adding the firm's name. Found his LinkedIn, same company as Rachel, client liaison, 38. His Instagram was private, but his LinkedIn had a link to a photography side project with a public gallery. Vacation shots from Cancun, posted in November. Rachel told me she'd been at a conference in Dallas that week. I went through the photos slowly. In the 4th one, a sunset dinner on a terrace. A woman's hand rested on his arm. Silver bracelet. I'd bought that bracelet for Rachel's birthday 3 years ago. I saved everything to a folder on my phone. The lease, the receipts, the storage payments, the photos. I didn't call her. I didn't need to confront her yet, because now I had something better than anger. I had proof. That night, Rachel came home at her usual time. She sat across from me at dinner and talked about a new client her firm had landed. She was calm, almost cheerful. She even asked about my day, something she hadn't done in months. I let her finish her sentence. Then I asked one question. How's Dominic? She stopped chewing. Just for a second, maybe 2. Then she swallowed and said, Who? I said, Dominic Reyes. Your coworker. The one you went to Cancun with in November. Well, I thought you were in Dallas. She put her fork down. Her face didn't crumble. It went flat. like a screen that just lost power. She said, "How did you?" I held up my phone, swiped through the screenshots one by one. The lease confirmation with his name next to hers. The luggage receipt. The storage unit payments under her maiden name. The bracelet I'd given her, on the arm of a man who wasn't me. I set the phone on the table between us and let her look. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "Say hi to Dominic for me." "Oh wait, you won't have to. You're moving in with him." She opened her mouth, closed it. Then she picked up her plate, walked to the sink, and started washing it. Like that was going to fix something. She tried to explain that night. Said Dominic was a mistake that turned into something she couldn't stop. Said she hadn't meant for it to go this far. I let her talk for about 3 minutes. Then I stood up. I told her I'd be staying in the house. She could take whatever she wanted from the storage unit. I said I'd have a lawyer handle the rest. She asked if we could talk about this like adults. I told her we just did. The next morning, I called an attorney, a guy my buddy Steve had used. I gave him the screenshots, the lease, the timeline. He said since she'd filed uncontested, I had 30 days to respond. But the sooner I got my terms on paper, the better. I went to the bank that day, withdrew my half from the joint checking, and opened my own account. The mortgage was in my name only, always had been. I'd bought the house before we married. Rachel had never been on the deed. I moved my tools and documents to Steve's garage. By Thursday, she texted, "You didn't have to do all this so fast." I didn't respond. Friday morning, Steve called. Checked Dominic's Instagram. He made it public. Dominic had posted a photo with another woman. A blonde. Rooftop bar in the city. Caption, "New chapter." I stared at that photo for maybe 10 seconds. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so obvious. Dominic hadn't wanted Rachel. He wanted what Rachel was willing to give up for him. And the second she gave it all up, the house, the marriage, the stability, he moved on. She'd blown up her entire life for a man who was already posting about his next girl before the lease they'd signed together even started. I could have called Rachel. I could have forwarded the screenshot and said something. But that wasn't my job anymore. Instead, I made a decision that surprised even me. I called my lawyer and told him to slow down the paperwork. Not to stop it, just slow it down. Give it 2 weeks. He asked why. I said, because she's about to come back. And I want everything in place for when she does. Saturday was quiet. I worked a job in Montclair, came home, ate leftover pasta, went to bed early. Sunday morning, I drove to Home Depot and bought materials for a deck I'd been putting off for 2 years. My own deck. For my own house. I started building it that afternoon. The call came on a Wednesday, 11 days after she'd walked out. I was on my knees nailing joist hangers when my phone buzzed. Rachel. I let it ring 4 times, then picked up. She was crying. Not the dramatic kind. The messy, can't catch your breath kind. She said Dominic had ended things. Said he told her he wasn't ready for that level of commitment. She said she'd made the worst mistake of her life. She said, "Please, I need to come home." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said, "Come by tomorrow at 6. Bring ID. There's paperwork." Then I hung up and finished the joist. She didn't need to know the paperwork was divorce papers with my terms, not hers. She showed up the next evening in the same jacket she'd worn the day she asked for the divorce. She sat on the porch steps. The deck wasn't done yet, and started talking before I could hand her anything. She told me everything. How Dominic had pulled away the second she moved into the Hoboken apartment alone. How he'd stopped answering texts. How she'd seen the photo of the blonde and realized she'd been a placeholder. She cried again. Then she looked at me and said, "I'll do anything." I handed her a glass of water and said, "Drink this first." I wasn't being kind. I was buying time. Because what I was about to say wasn't something I wanted her to miss. I sat down across from her on the porch and laid it out. You packed boxes under your maiden name for 5 months. You signed a lease with another man while you were still sleeping in our bed. You looked me in the face every night and lied. And now you want to come back because he doesn't want you. She started to speak. I held up my hand. I'm not done. You didn't file for divorce because our marriage was broken. You filed because you thought you had somewhere better to go. And the second that place disappeared, you called me. That's not love, Rachel. That's a backup plan. She wiped her eyes. That's not fair. You moved your kitchen into a storage unit. Don't talk to me about fair. She sat there for a long time. Then she asked, "So what now?" I pulled out a folder from inside the door. My lawyer's proposed settlement. I set it on the step between us. The house was mine before we married. My name, my mortgage, every payment. Your own filing doesn't contest it. You keep the car, your retirement, and everything in that storage unit. Sign this, and it's done. No court, no fees you can't afford. She stared at the folder. She knew I was right about the house. And she knew she couldn't afford a fight, not with Hoboken rent draining her and no second income to split it with. She didn't sign that night. She asked for 3 days. I gave her 2. During those 2 days, something happened I hadn't planned for. Rachel's mother called me. Linda. She'd always liked me, brought us casseroles on Sundays, helped us paint the nursery we never used. She said Rachel had told her everything. Then she said something that caught me off guard. She's been talking to a therapist. She knows what she did, but she also told me Dominic wasn't the first. I went quiet. Linda kept going. There was someone before him. About a year ago. She ended it, but that's when things started falling apart. I thanked Linda and hung up. So the storage unit, the lease, the 5-month plan, that was round 2. I'd been living in a lie longer than I'd thought. That night, I stood on the unfinished deck and called my lawyer. Told him to add a clause. She forfeits any claim to the house, present or future. Full release. He said given the circumstances, she'd be smart to sign it. I told him to have the updated papers ready by morning. Then I picked up my drill and kept working on the deck. My deck. On my house. The one I'd built with my hands, and the one I was keeping. Rachel signed the updated papers the next afternoon. She came by, read every page at the kitchen counter, including the new clause, and signed without a word. When she was done, she looked around the kitchen, the cabinets I'd installed, the tile I'd laid, and said, "You were always better at building things than I was at keeping them." I didn't respond to that. She put the house key on the counter, picked up the car key, and walked out. I heard the engine start, then pull away. That was the last time Rachel was inside my house. Dominic never showed his face either. 2 weeks after dumping Rachel, he left the firm and relocated to Austin. I found that out from one of Rachel's former co-workers who'd hired me for a bathroom renovation. She mentioned it casually. I didn't ask for details. That same week, I got a call from a contractor buddy in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was overloaded with work and wanted to know if I'd take overflow jobs. Remote partnership. I'd fly my crew down when he needed us. Good money. New market on top of the one I already had. I said yes before he finished the sentence. I finished the deck on a Thursday. Sanded every board, sealed every joint. Best work I'd done on that house. And this time, it was mine. Friday evening, Steve came over with 2 lawn chairs and a 6-pack. We sat on the new deck. He looked around the yard and said, "Most guys would have sold the place. Most guys didn't build it." The Charlotte job started Monday. I flew my crew down for a restaurant build-out. My foreman ran the Jersey projects. By the end of the month, I had contracts in 2 states. 3 weeks after the papers were filed, I was home grilling on the deck when my phone buzzed. Rachel's name. I set the phone on the railing, flipped the burgers, and watched the sun drop behind the fence I'd built 8 years ago. It stopped buzzing after the 4th ring. She had a storage unit